Time to analyze the discussion question of the car choosing which path to take. Well, the driver choosing which path to take, either hitting a tree or hitting the hedgerow. Now, we want to reason from impulse, so we can actually have something that is constant between the two. So if we want to reason from impulse, and this is the logic behind it, we want to decide in which case is the impulse larger, when you hit the tree or hit the bushes. The most common thing people think about is the impulse is larger when you hit the tree. That is not true. Let's think what happens when you do hit the tree. Well, you got the car or the ugly truck driving. Here's the tree. Moving at V0. Well, let's look at the impulse, because we want to reason from impulse. Impulse, F net times T, which is delta P, which is mv minus mv0. Well, what's the final velocity? You hit the tree, you stop. The final velocity is 0. So the impulse, which is F net times T, is negative mv0. There's the tree. Well, let's look at the bushes. Well, instead of hitting the tree, you've got all of these bushes that go on forever and ever and ever. So you're going this way. Impulse, same thing. F net times T, mv minus mv0. What happens when you hit the bushes? Eventually, you also stop. The final velocity is 0. So what we have is impulse, which is F net times T, is negative mv0. Since the initial velocity is the same in both cases, the impulse is the same. The change in the object's momentum is identical for both cases. You are moving at V0 when you start. You are moving at 0 when you stop. Therefore, the impulse change is the same. But it's not the impulse that does the damage, it's the force. But if you look, F net times T in both cases is negative mv0. So let's call the tree case 1 and the bushes 2. So what we have is this. F net times T is negative mv0. In the case of the tree, the time of impact is very small, therefore F net becomes very large. In the case of the bushes, the time of impact is very large, so F net becomes very small. Now, we can't just say this without saying that both of them are going to be multiplied and give you the same number. So if the number negative mv0 was negative 10, you could think about the bushes having a force of 1 and a time of 10, or the tree having a time of 1 and a force of 10. In other words, the multiplication of the two has to come out to the same number, and that allows us to make a valid comparison. So it's not just impulse that you look at, it's the actual force that is applied, and this is the analysis to see why you probably want to run into the bushes. It's also a good reason why you might want to dive into a pool that is full of water versus just hitting the concrete.